This is Backstage Sonoma, your all-access pass to the local music scene.
Coming to you from beautiful downtown Santa Rosa, this is the Backstage Sonoma podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
It's Backstage Sonoma. Hi, I'm Steve Roby. Today we have a very special guest joining us. It's Keith Roberts, the lead vocalist and guitarist of the legendary Celtic rock band, the Young Dubliners. The Young Dubs, as they're known, have captivated audiences worldwide with over 30 years of electrifying performances and a unique fusion of Celtic music and rock. In today's episode, we'll discuss their upcoming show at the iconic Sweetwater Music Hall in Mill Valley and dive into the stories behind some of their most powerful songs, including Rosie, We the Mighty, and Drive. We'll also get a sneak peek into their upcoming 10th studio album and hear how they're working with their fans to make it all happen. Let's kick off today's show with Rosie. It's the Young Dubs on Backstage Sonoma.
Rosie, losing the spark of love. That fire used to burn in your eye. Now tell me you haven't stopped dreaming. Now you still reach up for the sky. For this life it's no bed of roses. It's not all it's cracked up to be. But in the end there's always you and me. Roses, sweet Rosie, money that grow on trees. If I thought for just 1 second did, I'd be down on my bended knee. I will take our tea at 11, a match that was made in the heavens. Two lovers are walking in this town. We don't need a ball or a gown. So tell your dear man not to worry. You won't need for nothing with me. Now let the rivers run down to the sea. Roses, sweet Rosie, money that grow on trees. If I thought for just 1 second did, I'd be down on my bended knee. I'm down on my bended knee. So you spend your whole life with me. Until that day it'll be okay, you'll see. You'll see. Roses, sweet Rosie, money that grow on trees. If I thought for just 1 second did, I'd be down on my bended knee. If I thought for just 1 second did, I'd be down on my bended knee. I'd be down on my bended knee.
That's Rosie by the Young Dubliners from their 2019 album, Saints and Sinners. Lead vocalist and guitarist Keith Roberts is my guest today. I'm Steve, and this is Backstage Sonoma. Hey, Keith, welcome to the show. It's nice to have you here.
How are you? Great to be here.
All right. Hey, congratulations also on the group's 30 years together. Not an easy task these days.
No, it's, in fact, I think I just aged about 20 years when you said that.
I'm sorry about that. Anyway, how did it all begin for you?
Well, it was a weird little story because I had moved out to Los Angeles from Dublin to actually look into a career in journalism. Ended up getting here and realizing the journalism I'd been looking at wasn't exactly going to pay the bills at the beginning. So started doing a whole load of different things and ended up fluking into a bar ownership in Santa Monica. Just kind of a weird situation where I sort of took it over with another Irish man. And at the time I had sort of had a little duo going called the Young Dubliners, which was myself and Paul O'Toole who were just two fellas from Dublin, who the Americans called the Young Dubliners, the young lads from Dublin. So it was never really a name. It was just what they called us. We were still thinking we would come up with a name, but at the time it was just Paul and Keith, you know what I mean? We weren't really looking for a name. And we ended up becoming a band as we started to write. And My Bar Fair City became the sort of launching pad for the band. Initially, it was only going to be just, we were the Saturday night band, you know what I mean? It was something fun to do. We weren't looking for record deals or thinking we were going anywhere.
Sure.
And next thing you know, we got offered an EP deal and the rest sort of took off, and then we hit the road, and that was over 30 years ago.
Wow. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. That's wonderful. Hey, we opened the show with the song called Rosie. Could you share the inspiration or the story behind the song?
Yeah, Rosie was, the chorus was actually something that our old bass player, Brent Holmes, had come up with, and he had it for a while and had played it a couple of times to us, and for whatever reason, it didn't get taken up until we ended up doing the Saints and Sinners album. And then he played it to me again, and I realized it was a great catchy chorus, as I should have realized when he first played it. And so I sort of fleshed it out into the rest of the song, and we basically released it then on Saints and Sinners, and it instantly became a favorite with our supporters. And even to this day, it's still a song. I always announce it because I always know people will be excited to know it's coming. It's a good example of what we are as a band, really, because it sort of shows the Irish influence is obviously there, but it's also a rock song that's sort of written in the way any sort of rock musician would have wanted to make it sort of have that exciting beat and catchy sing-along, epic sort of chorus. So we like to think of it as a good blend of what the Young Dubs are with Irish and American members.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, with 30 years under your belt, so to speak, I'm sure the band has gone through different configurations. Can you introduce the current lineup of the band members to our audience?
Yes, I'm going to check the picture just to make sure I know. Just joking. Yes, actually, this lineup now has been together for the last entry was our new bass player, Ethan. He joined right before COVID, right? Literally, his lucky break was getting in the band and rehearsing for months, only to be shut down for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right as we were ready to go. But so Ethan Jones on bass, we've got Chaz Waltz on violin and also keyboards, and he plays harmonic and mandolin. He's our everything man and backing vocals. Then we've got Justin Paco on lead guitar, and we've got Dave Ingram on drums, and then me, Keith Roberts, on acoustic and vocal.
You guys all sound good together, and the music is so infectious. It's great.
Thanks a million.
So, Keith, the Young Dubs, as they're known to fans, are known for blending Celtic sounds with rock and other musical influences. How have the band members' diverse musical backgrounds contributed to the evolution of the band's sound over the years?
Well, I think you nailed it. That's really how our sound developed, was not so much a bunch of guys coming together to create a certain genre, but more people from different backgrounds coming together, each bringing their own, sort of experience into it. And I think creating something pretty unique for us compared to a lot of the other bands. Our idea was always to write what we felt and then use the instruments we had and then let that be the sound. And so it took a while, took a couple of albums we were a little schizophrenic in the beginning, where we would have very full-on rock songs that the labels were encouraging us because that was the only way to get radio airplay. And then we had more of the Irish stuff that we were doing for fun that we knew was going down great at live shows and stuff, but that radio wasn't so into playing. Yeah. So in the beginning, there was that sort of split where you'd listen to the album and hear something very Irish and then hear something that didn't sound Irish at all. Yeah. Really, I think personally it took us till the album Real World, where the first record with Tim Boland, our producer, that's where we sort of found our voice of trying to be that epic, sort of have those big epic songs, and also have a very wide array of different tempos and showing how the Celtic music could blend with all different styles and not limit ourselves to one influence or another. So, for example, the Irish would have been influenced by the Pogues. I was heavily influenced by Big Country, Scottish band, by the Waterboys, even Boomtown Rats, probably a little U2 as they were blowing up right as I was growing up.
Nice.
Then the Americans had all of their more American rock influence. as the years went by, it became, we all learned each other, if you know what I mean. So a lot of the Americans were the ones actually starting to write the Celtic riffs over whatever the rhythm we would come up with, whatever the chords progression. And then it would be the Americans like Chaz, our old guitar player, Bob Bolding, created an awful lot of those riffs and instrumentals. And then I just wrote the lyric that came to me for that particular period in our lives. So they mixed from fun, sort of silly lyrics to more serious topics over the years. I've just tried to write, I think maybe the journalist in me comes out when I write lyrics, and a lot of them are they're not biographical. They're just more me sort of reporting on stuff I've seen or witnessed or other band members have told me about, and then every now and again something more personal. But yeah, that's kind of how it. So we are very much a product of the band members and not forcing ourselves into some sort of a genre and everybody just learning that.
I hope you can keep it that way. Is the current state of radio showing you some kindness, giving you some airplay?
Well, it's funny. The band seems to be going through a bit of a resurgence. I think in general, a lot of people are going back to bands they sort of grew up with or were first, influenced by to sort of reconnect with their youth or something, because we have found now, having lasted this long, we're getting this amazing thing where people, fans of ours from years ago, show up now with their 20-year-old kids. And they'll say to me, I just had somebody tell me the other night that this kid say, my dad had me listen to your music since I was born. I didn't know whether to say thanks a million or I'm sorry about that. But I think she was about 17 and knew all the songs. And it was just amazing to see that for us. So that's been a huge plus for us to see that, because you want to be relevant and you never want to be touring and gigging. If nobody gives a fiddlers anymore, you sort of want it to be, hopefully that people are actually still enjoying your stuff, which is why we take so long between albums and stuff, is that we just believe that these albums are our legacy. The live shows will be, remembered now through the fact that everybody has a phone and is video on them, but it's the music that we leave for our kids to sort of have our body of work. And so we want these albums to actually be something we're very proud of. So we really do a heavy self-critic situation with these. And it just takes a while. We try to put out something that we feel is, moving ahead and showing a developing band, but also true to who we are and hopefully what people expect from us. But we hold ourselves to a very high level on that. And hopefully that's why we've had the longevity we've had. But it's great to see the young people in the audience now. And I think that all of the new forms of access to music, like from the early days with Pandora and Spotify and Apple Music and everything else, I think when people put in other bands they're familiar with, we pop up. Yeah. And then they realize that we've been there, all along. And that maybe we show them it's a bit of a wider genre than they had initially thought when they got there.
How nice. Hey, let's play some more of your music. This next track we're going to play is called We the Mighty, which carries a strong message. How did this song come together, and what messages do you hope resonates with your listeners?
Well, this song, particularly We the Mighty, was a response by me to the fact that there's this huge wave of more emigration from Ireland to America. And the feeling in Ireland sometimes from what they see in America that the Irish situation over here is sort of blown up more like a Walmart, display with the shamrocks and the leprechauns and all the rest of it. And so this song was basically saying, no, it's an amazing country. Come over here. We're stronger together. And, it's not all about that. And that's why the lyric sort of says, there'll be no shamrocks, there'll be no clover, there'll be no shamrocks kind of thing. It's like, this is just there's people here ahead of you who will help bring you in, and then you'll assimilate into this amazing Irish culture that is in America. So that's really, and the We the Mighty was, to be honest with you, it was a good tagline, but it's just a confidence builder to any young kids that were thinking about making such a massive move.
Nice.
And maybe afraid they'd be lonely or they'd be isolated or whatever, just to say, no, you're not. You'll always find your own.
Good. Hey, what a great intro. And let's take a listen to it. It's We the Mighty by the Young Dubs from album 9 here on Backstage Sonoma.
The station, I call you songs of love and emigration. Wave goodbye if you were so alive. We're step into the great unknown. You missed the crack, but there's no turning back. When you get there, you won't be alone. So let's go, let's go. Call them up, tell them we're coming over. There'll be no shamrocks and there'll be no fully clovers. It's just a party and we're only getting started. We'll fix your lonely and we'll fix your broken hearted. We're the mighty. The same old story, just a different generation. But telling people a familiar situation. We work so hard if we can get a job. We know that when the day is done, we'll raise our glass to the future and the past. We'll sing it till the morning sun. So ride on, ride on. Call them up, tell them we're all coming over. There'll be no shamrocks and there'll be no fully clovers. It's just a party and we're only getting started. We'll fix your lonely and we'll fix your broken hearted. We're the mighty. Tell them we're all coming over. There'll be no shamrocks and there'll be no fully clovers. It's just a party and we're only getting started. We'll fix your lonely and we'll fix your broken hearted. We'll sing the songs that everybody's heard of. You keep on talking but I haven't had a word left. We're the mighty. We're the mighty.
From the album 9, it's the Young Dubs with We the Mighty. Lead vocalist and guitarist Keith Roberts is my guest today. I'm Steve, and I appreciate you all being here. Keith, you're working on your 10th studio album set for release next year. What can fans expect from this new record regarding sound, themes, and evolution from your previous work?
I think this one will be particularly stand out lyrically just because of what happened over the last 6 years and so with the band sort of building up and going through changes in 2019 and having a staggered beginning to the record because of the personnel changes that we went through. And then all of a sudden, obviously, the lockdown hit and we don't all live together in the same town. We're spread out at the time. One was in Hawaii. We had people in San Diego. I live up north to San Luis Obispo. We had a fella in LA. So with all the restrictions on travel and everything, we just couldn't get together.
Wow.
So that first year was just basically rejecting the horror of what had happened, sort of rejecting the whole music thing and just being mad and upset and worried and all the usual stuff that everybody went through. And then all of a sudden I started to realize, wait a minute, we kind of think about getting back out there. Eventually we will, and we need to get on with this record. So started writing stuff that was relevant to some of the stuff we were going through. There are some heavy lyrics about personal stuff that I was going through in terms of the depression that sort of went along with that and the worry. But also, this band is known for always trying to give you a silver lining. I'm not trying to depress the living what out of everybody. I'm trying to say more share with everybody. We all go through stuff.
Sure.
But there is a silver lining and it ended up happening and we got back out there. So the songs, there's a lot of mixed stuff. There's some fun stuff on there. There's some stuff that's relevant to what we went through. And then the usual Young Dubs trying to get some sing-alongy, big anthemic stuff that hopefully will be fun to play live. And we're starting to play a few of them live now, but it's we're in that mad dash now to get it finished. And so it's all the joys of speed recording and trying to record when you're a full-time working band on the road.
Right. Hey, you've been working with record producer Tim Boland for a long time now. What keeps you coming back to collaborate with him, and how has your dynamic evolved with this upcoming 10th album?
Tim represents to me like when you finally find a doctor who knows what's wrong with you. As I said, we were sort of flopping around, a little schizophrenia, setting in with the styles of songs. Some of the songs we would just write these very, very Celtic, sort of almost punky stuff with the Pogues influence and what have you. And then we'd write, full-on rock stuff that, like I said earlier, that had you could listen to it and have no idea there was any Irish influence in the band. And it was just a struggle to try to combine them. So when we found him at a party in Los Angeles or something, and he's also from Dublin, and I realised I'd met him years ago. He was a great friend of a friend of mine in Ireland who had been in a band with me there, the drummer, Gary Sullivan. And he introduced us to Tim, and Tim wasn't even 100% into the idea. He'd been doing a lot of soundtrack work and he'd been doing a lot of commercial stuff, and I don't know if he felt confident that he could take on this rock band and do what we were asking him to do, which was, can you find who we are with us and help guide us into the sound that we really want? And he did it. And the only way I tell people is what that felt like was sitting at final mixes, having been buried. I had vocal surgery in the middle of it. It was a very difficult album to do. And we'd written these songs that we were so proud of, and we wanted them to come out as best as ever. So we're sitting there doing final mixes, having a listening thing at the studio. And I just looked at Tim literally at the end of one of the tracks and I went, I really love that. Who is that? And he said, that's you. I was like, that's us. It was just the level. I just felt we lifted a level. And all of a sudden I was able to say, we've arrived. This is the sound of the Young Dubliners. This is who we are. And now we can build on this. So to me, there is no question of ever, Tim will have to be pried away from us. We're working with him now. We just had a great session a couple of weeks ago on this latest album. It's a great vibe to be around him. He gets us. He's a brilliant musician himself.
Nice.
He adds a lot of playing. He's just one of those producers you hope to find in your career at some point. But when you do, you just lock in.
Wow. Can't wait to hear the new stuff. And for this next album, you're crowdfunding it rather than relying on a record label. What made you retake this approach, and how has the fan involvement shaped the process?
By far the, sort of most creative freedom you'll ever have making an album when you do it on your own. However, as a cautionary tale to all of those young bands who are thinking about it, the only thing it's tough for us is being a band that tours as much as we are, not having an A&R fella cracking the whip and not getting that big, huge advance that you can get off the road and spend that solid months and months working on the album. We have found that to be a little bit more difficult because we get off the road, we're exhausted from the tour, we need a little break. Then we get together, we record, then we go back on the road. Now that time goes by. When you get back to the studio, you're reacquainting yourself. It's not as easy as just blocking out time to do it. So that's been a little challenging. But other than that, we know the process with ourselves now for recording. So we are sort of able to jump in a lot better than we would have been years ago, where we would have to relearn everything again. It is sort of a work in progress now. And having the crowd's funding means that when you're done and you get the album out, you send it to all the people who helped with the process.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay a record label back all the money you spent making your record for them.
Nice.
It's a very freeing and sort of liberating way to make an album. But I would just caution bands to try to give yourselves that lockout time where you can really get it done in a session, or it can drag on way longer than you hoped.
Yeah. Hey, is the crowdfunding website still open?
Yes, we always joke about that. People said, how much money do you guys need? And I said, listen, we don't know, because you can go into the studio for a day and be unbelievably productive. And the next day something happens and you get nothing done. It's expensive to do. We're trying to, really keep the level very high. And we use, obviously, the best producer we've ever known. And we use amazing studios. And it involves us coming off the road. So we have to be able to afford to sustain ourselves while that's going on. Yeah. So it really is, we sort of raise money. We do a lot of work. We raise a bit more. We do a lot more work. So it's because if anybody wants to have a look at the pledge page, on our website, you'll see how we do it. We're not asking anybody for money for nothing. We're basically just asking you to pre-order the album and trust that you'll want it. And then there's other levels that always involve you getting something worth more than what you're actually pledging. Concert tickets, T-shirts, CDs, all that kind of stuff. So really you're just kind of buying something from us, and we're using that money to help make the album. So that's how we sort of do it.
I'll be sure to put a link to that website for contributions for crowdfunding in the show notes of this episode. So hopefully our listeners can contribute just a little bit more to get it going.
Brilliant.
Good. Hey, you just recently dropped a new single titled Drive. Can you talk about the energy and themes of Drive? It seems to reflect both the band's ethos of moving forward, whether in life, music, or both. Is that the case?
It really is. It's, again, to get back to the lockdown, it was one of the first songs I wrote for the new album. And really what I was drawing on was the idea that all the stuff that was going on with me and so many other people during that time, reconnecting with friends who'd lost touch with, burying old hatchets in silly arguments or whatever that had been going on. It was the whole idea was to try to get positive about the future and that we were all going to get back out there. But I also didn't want to write a song that would be forever attached to a terrible memory for everybody. So there is no mention in particular of the pandemic, but I think when you hear the lyric, you realize it is all about moving forward. And it was about a sort of a cleansing of the mind and just getting back out there and doing gigs. And every night we play it now live, I say this song is dedicated to all of you who remembered who we were and who came out to see us again, because that was the picture of an audience smiling back at me. Was a huge inspiration for writing the song in the middle of a period when I didn't know if I would ever be doing it again.
Yeah. Another great intro, Keith, and let's listen to it now. It's Drive by the Young Dubs. You're on Backstage Sonoma.
When I wake up in the morning, I only open one eye first. It tells the rest of me if things are looking better or worse. If I don't like what I see, I'll just go right back to my dream and sail away and head for different shores where there's no worry anymore and kids can play. We're looking for fair weather, and the sooner the better. So much for being in this all together. I'm doing things that I never even thought I could. Making amends with everybody that I know I should. When the world stops tumbling, they give us back, I take it to ride. We'll get back in the car, hit the gas now, baby, drive. Well, I'm relatively fine, nothing I can cool wine and little smoke. When up and down is all the rage, like I'm a monster in a cage and broke. We know that when it's over, we'll be swimming in clover. Till then we're falling from the cliffs of Dover. I'm doing things that I never even thought I could. Making amends with everybody that I know I should.
That's Drive, the new single from the Young Dubs, which is available now. Keith Roberts is my guest today. Keith, you're touring the U.S. and Ireland. How does performing in Ireland compare to playing in the U.S., and what do you love most about bringing your music to both sides of the Atlantic?
Well, the Irish tours have turned into just a massively fun situation, and it's not anything I did. We were approached years ago about that a lot of our fans would love to see Ireland with the band on tour, and originally I thought that was a mad idea. I couldn't even imagine how we would do it, but then a travel agent partnered up with us, and this will be our 10th one. So what we do is we bring 120 Americans with us from all over the country in the US, and they travel in buses during the day and see the sights with these amazing drivers. And then at night, they all come to our shows. And for one, as a sort of a special treat, we rent a castle for 2 days, and that castle is just for all the Americans and us. And we do a little acoustic gig for them. And this year, it'll actually be right on election day. So on election day in America, we will be in a castle in Donegal. It's going to be very, very interesting. So the Irish gigs are full of these Americans who know all our songs, know all the words, and then the Irish fans who are coming in who only see us maybe once every 18 months or whenever we're there. And so it's a brilliant, the gigs are just a massive celebration. And I think the Irish get a big kick out of seeing so many Americans there. And the Americans love being able to, tell the Irish how they know the band and how they were sort of introduced to Ireland through the band. So it's been a great experience. But the majority of our touring is in the States. And then when we go to Europe, the places in Europe we've had our most success have been this kind of, you'd imagine, the sort of Celtic-y parts of the world, like Norway and Denmark, and we had amazing tours with Jethro Tull where we opened for them all over Europe, and so those shows were phenomenal. But America's sort of where the home from home for me, and where most of the band's from. So a lot of the touring's here. So we loved it. I mean, people ask me all the time, where's my favorite place to play? But that's like asking me who's my favorite kid. Yeah. You just it would be detrimental to say, but we definitely have a huge love for all over this country, and the Irish trip is as much as it is a working tour, it is sort of a little bit of a holiday for us as well, because we're there for 10 days, but we're only doing 3 gigs, so we've got plenty of time to enjoy ourselves at home.
I'm hooked. How do people sign up for something like that? Do they go to your website?
Yes, it's we'll have to announce another one now. This one's sold out, but you can get on a wait list in case there's any cancellations, which happen now and again because, people have stuff happen to them in their life at the last minute. But we leave on November 2nd this year, and it's 10 days. So it's a little bit coming right up. But once it's over, we'll announce the next one. And the next one will focus on the southern part of Ireland. So whereas each trip we take, sort of chop the country across the middle, and this year we're doing Galway, Belfast, Donegal, and Dublin. There'll always be a Dublin show. Next year it'll be probably Cork and maybe Limerick and down into maybe Wexford, Waterford, Dublin, that sort of idea. So they're fun trips.
I hope you do some live streaming. I'd love to see how things go for the tour with all those Americans on board with you.
That's right. And as a little footnote, I got my American citizenship this year. So
congratulations.
Very big year for me and everything else with my first election, and the fact that I'll be in a castle. I told we're very much aware as a band that our support has come from every side of the political spectrum, and we want this to be a musical experience and keep the politics out of it. So the tour is actually called the Pints Not Politics Tour. And there'll be a whole T-shirt. We've had a wonderful friend of ours designed an amazing T-shirt for us.
I love it.
Which will be up on our website soon. But for that reason, for me to be a part of the whole election thing and having everybody there, we're just going to make it a very fun night for everybody. And I just jokingly said, whichever side you're on, whatever happens, you can either celebrate at a castle or apply for Irish citizenship.
That's
whatever
great.
Floats your boat.
Wow, that's how much fun is that? Jeez. Hey, as I mentioned earlier, you guys have been together 30 years and you're still going strong. What's the legacy you want the band to leave behind? How do you envision the future for the group?
Well, it's something you don't think about as much in the early days, and then you really think about it as you as the band sort of gets into its whatever last stand or whatever you want to call it. And I think for us, I hope, and I've heard from enough people that I was so flattered to hear from, that we have been a big influence on a lot of the bands have come up with, since us. And we I think a lot of the younger fans of this genre didn't know who we were until they became fans of Flog and Molly or Dropkick Murphys, and then all of a sudden found us and realised we had actually been going longer than those bands, and that we had sort of been, I don't like to use the term pioneers or to say that we were doing anything amazing, but it just happened to be that we were one of the only bands in America that were doing it to the point where we never even had the word Celtic rock. We were just, being a rock band that had an Irish influence, and it sort of grew into this genre. Us and really Black 47 back in New York were the first two to sort of to try to break it in America doing it. So, and we were pulling from the likes of the Pogues, who had already, started to rock up the music back home. So overall, I think we're leaving a body of work that we're proud of. We're leaving, we still play live shows like it's the last one ever. Like this is how we'll be remembered. So the band has never phoned a gig in its life, which I think is a testimony to all the current and past band members, that we all went on stage to make sure everybody got their money's worth. And we're still doing that. We consider ourselves only as good as the last show. Like, considering every show ends up on bloody YouTube now, you sort of have to do that.
So you've got a show coming up at the Sweetwater Music Hall. Are there any special plans for this October 17th show?
Yes, this is the end of the American tour now. It's the last 2 weeks of it. So we've changed up the set a good bit. We've added in more of the new stuff, and we've also gone into our past and pulled some songs that we haven't played in years, just to sort of, as much for our sake as for everybody else's. But we've been playing this set now for about 3 weeks, and it's getting a great reaction. I think, it's one of those, it's sort of things all bands face is you want to change your setup to do the stuff you love to play, but you also have to remember you're an entertainer. And the reason you're getting this opportunity is because people paid for a ticket to hear the songs they love to hear. So I always write the sets that way. I want the songs that I know everybody wants to hear to be in there, because I know how disappointed I am when I go see a band I love and they don't play the signature tune or one of the hits or whatever. So we always want to play the songs we know everybody wants to hear, but then we want, in between that, to take them on a little bit of a musical journey of our history. And with the 9 albums and now the new stuff from the 10th one, it gives us a really wide, so the set really takes you on a journey. And I think we've got a very well-paced show now, to where I think if you arrive in there and to the show and you've got any heavy stuff going on in your life, or you're feeling a bit down, we hope that 2 hours later you'll have a big grin on your face and you'll at least get a break from it all for a little while, if we do our job right.
Yeah, sounds good to me. And let me remind our listeners, the Young Dubliners will perform at the Sweetwater Music Hall in Mill Valley on Thursday, October 17th. Doors open at 7 p.m. Get there early. Showtime is at 8. Tickets can be purchased right now online at sweetwatermusichall.com. Hey, Keith, it was a real pleasure speaking with you today. I wish you the best of luck with your upcoming album and tour of Ireland. Will you come back and see us again?
Absolutely. And thank you very much for giving us the shout out.
All right. Awesome. That's Keith Roberts. We're back in a minute.
Welcome to Backstage Sonoma, your all-access pass to the heartbeat of the Bay Area music scene. From jazz to rock, blues to world music, we bring you intimate conversations with the artists shaping our soundscape. Hear their stories, explore their inspirations, and dive deep into the creative process that makes each performance unforgettable. Hosted by Steve Roby, seasoned radio personality and best-selling author, Backstage Sonoma has featured Grammy winners like Judy Collins, Colby Kyle Lott, Leslie Mendelsohn, and chart-topping guitarist Adam Hawley. With over 200 episodes and 4 years of exclusive content, we keep you connected to the local and touring musicians making waves today. Whether you're a lifelong music lover or discovering new tunes, join us on Backstage Sonoma, available on all major streaming platforms, including YouTube. Don't miss a beat, subscribe now, and be part of our growing community of listeners. Backstage Sonoma, where the music never stops.
Thanks for listening to the Backstage Sonoma podcast. Join us next time for more great interviews and music from local and touring musicians. You can find us on the web at backstagesonoma.com.